meet today in special session, as the Council did in February 1952, upon the death of Her Majesty's father, His Majesty George VI, to pay our respects on behalf of our residents for the Queen's lifetime of service. As the Lord Mayor has just reminded us, Westminster was the borough where Her Majesty came into this world. She was born at Bruton Street in Mayfair, and it was of course where she would spend much of her life, at 145 Piccadilly, Clarence House, and of course Buckingham Palace. So it's more than appropriate that our city now plays host to the ceremonies that mark her passing from this world. Over the last 9 days, we've seen hundreds of thousands of people come to our city to pay their respects to Her Majesty and to remember fondly what she gave to our nation over the 70 years of her reign. And we will see many more people come over this weekend and on the day of her funeral. While my own personal connection to Her Majesty was somewhat limited, I was in her presence twice, first at a Chatham House event, and then most recently at the opening of the Elizabeth line in Paddington. For me, she was someone who I will always associate with my own nan, who passed away last year. And nan was someone who would always make sure we had the Queen's speech on at Christmas, and would pass on royal-related gossip that I might not always have known. And so the Queen's passing feels for me, and I think for many others too, like the passing of a torch from Her Majesty's generation. These events over the last few days have been linking both the constitutional with the personal. And it's been remarked many times this week that most of us do not know a Britain without her, and therefore her passing represents a seismic shift as we enter a new era with His Majesty King Charles III as our new monarch. Across the city, books of condolence that have been placed in City Hall and libraries around Westminster have barely had a moment's rest, as people come to pay their respects. And these tributes to the Queen will be stored in the city archives, recorded for posterity and a reflection of future generations. Many comments in those books speak of gratitude for her service and reflect on the fact that she's been a strong and steady hand, often during challenging times. One gentleman summed it up very well when he said that she served the nation and realm with a heart of service, duty and dignity, but most of all with genuine love and compassion for all her peoples. Westminster's residents have also told us of some of their special memories of Her Majesty over the years, and it has been heartwarming to see the way in which, different ways in which she has touched so many lives throughout her many years as Queen. Richard Prosser attended the Paddington rail disaster in 1999 with the London Ambulance Service and was invited to meet the Queen, who thanked them personally for their efforts in moving the victims of the disaster to hospital. Annabel Freedman had a chance encounter when she spotted the Queen driving in the lane next to her, and she remarked, "Her Majesty represented a kind of Britishness that we'd all like to feel exists. Fortitude, forbearance, stiff upper lip, a sense of duty, and above all, a wicked sense of humour." Another resident, Simon Brown, put things more emotively in his comments. my Queen, I miss you terribly. You always pass my house on occasion, and I shall miss seeing you. I am born in Westminster and live round the corner from your house, the best house in the world, Buckingham Palace. Thank you for everything. Sleep now, and we'll meet again some sunny day." Anne Rhodes's father, a vet who visited Buckingham Palace to treat Her Majesty's corgis, was one of the very first to learn of some top secret news in 1959. When John Rhodes explained that one of the corgis was in fact experiencing a phantom pregnancy, the Queen smiled and said, "Well, gentlemen, I hope my pregnancy is all right." The fact that her third child was on the way had not yet been made known to the public. And finally in the book, one of our council city inspectors, Harold, simply wrote, "Thank God for a good life that influenced many of us." During her reign, and at the prompting of Her Majesty and the Duke of Edinburgh, Buckingham Palace began to open up to host the garden parties. And over the years, hundreds of Westminster residents, including members of our community groups, charities, council officers, and particularly our staff award winners, and the occasional councillor, were the beneficiaries of this hospitality, all part of making the institution of monarchy more accessible to the public. Although we meet here today in mourning and remembrance, it was only a few months ago that our nation came together to celebrate and thank her for her 70 years of service with the Platinum Jubilee celebrations. Westminster was thrilled to play host, along with the Royal Household and Royal Parks, to many of the key events over that bank holiday weekend, as well as more than 40 street parties across the city, where neighbours came together to hang bunting, picnic, and celebrate an incredible woman who dedicated her life to this country. I know that many of us have felt grateful that we had that opportunity to celebrate the longest reigning monarch in our history. And that sense of togetherness that we felt so deeply in June has seen us through the past week as we're united in our grief. I want to briefly take a moment to pay tribute to all those council officers and contractors who helped us celebrate in June, but who are now working so hard to allow the nation to mourn. The 18th floor of City Hall has become the nerve centre of an operation that everyone here can be incredibly proud of. And there are so many amazing people involved in making all the ceremonial events happen, including officers from parking, highways, waste and cleansing, communications, city promotions, events and filming, emergency preparedness, public protection and licensing. But I want to give a particular note of thanks to Richie Gibson, Catherine Eaton and Sarah Newman, who are at the heart of the operation. And in closing, I wish to put on record my heartfelt thanks to Her Majesty, who has been a steadfast and constant presence throughout every season for Britain. She never once failed to share with us in our successes and our brightest moments. And she guided the British people through difficult times with words of kindness and encouragement. The Queen was a truly remarkable sovereign, the likes of which we may never see again. Her loss is deeply felt by all, but we remain eternally grateful for her service to Great Britain and the world. Rest in peace, Your Majesty, and God save the King.